In Chapter 3, we look at the different genres of films. The 6 main genres are gangster, film noir, science fiction, horror, western, and the musical. Within each of those genres are certain genre conventions, like theme, setting, presentation, character archetypes, and story formulas. This week, we watched Little Big Man, directed by Arthur Penn, and we will look at how the conventions of this film make it simultaneously a western and not a western.
Little Big Man was made in 1970, which is well after the height of popularity of the western genre, so it is a bit out of place genre-wise. This contributes to the themes the audience sees throughout the film. An important thing to note is that this film was released while the USA was fighting in the Vietnam War. In an interview done with Damien Love, Arthur Penn stated that Little Big Man had no relation to the war, but he was alive and witnessed World War II, which definitely affected how he portrayed violence in films. Yet the narrative being told is not anti-war, but more of a way to reflect how American society treats it and what the other point of view is. Little Big Man humanizes the natives in the film, and its goal is to humanize those who are on the receiving end of violence. As I mentioned before, Penn portrays violence in a new way that Hollywood has not done before. In his 1967 film, Bonnie and Clyde, Penn raged against the machine with his portrayal of violence and the use of slow motion to heighten the brutality in scenes. Little Big Man is an interesting film because the conventional characters and plot lines line up with that of traditional Western movies. However, there are moments and storylines that subvert the viewer's expectations and what make it a revisionist Western. This film is a Western in the sense that Little Big Man is sometimes a heroic gunslinger, but at other times he is a rugged, stoic member of the Cheyenne tribe. And by the end of the film, when Little Big Man exhausts all options, we see him become another character archetype in Westerns, the town drunk. In this way, Dustin Hoffman, who plays our titular protagonist, fulfills every character archetype portrayed in traditional Westerns. In an article from the Library of Congress, author Kimberly Lindbergh writes a personal review of the film, but she also writes that one of Penn's goals with this movie was to change the way that Hollywood had idolized and mythologized the history of the American West. Yet, the implicit meaning of this film is the parallels of it in the Vietnam War. The audience sees this during the Washita Massacre scene. Penn understands that his audience will recognize what is being portrayed in this clip because it has been seen in the media. The clip that I just played is toward the middle of the film, which is actually the climax of the whole story where most of the action and violence occurs. This is different for this film because Westerns and action films at this time had the climax and the main violence at the end of the film. The conclusion of this film is not what the audience expects. We expect Old Lodgeskins to pass away and for Little Big Man to be upset but move on with his life. Instead, Old Lodgeskins gets up and walks away with Little Big Man. This leaves the story open-ended. Even though the audience knows what will happen, we know that white society will take over the Indian nations. We have a sense of hope that the human beings will survive.